Saw something last night. MLB Network, they do this every year, and it's, it is what it is, but it's a nice tone setter to the season. So they put out their rankings, the top 100 players in baseball, right? Mm-hmm. And two teams have 8 players in the top 100, one of which are the Mets. The Mets and the Astros have 8 apiece in the top 100. Great representation. 3 teams have 7, the Phillies, the Braves, and the Jays. And then 2 teams have 6, and that is, of course, the Yankees and the Padres. Now, what I find interesting, and there's a long way to go. First game's tomorrow. Mets are doing the inter squad now. I know they're going to stream it. Yankees play tomorrow against the Phillies, and off we go. And there'll be some twists and turns. The young kids for the Yankees. There'll be an injury or 2 for both teams. We'll have to navigate this. But I am very confident looking at these teams now on paper. I'm all ears. Convince me otherwise. But to me, the Yankees have significantly more questions than the Mets do, but the Yankees have a significantly easier path to October.
Easier path because of the division, because of the lack of dominance in the American League. Is that what you're getting at?
A little bit of everything. Well, just look at the NL East.
Yeah.
Phillies are outstanding. The Braves are outstanding. And then you get to the Dodgers and it's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. It's interesting because when we had CC in a week ago or so, and he was talking about this Yankees team, which we felt like underachieved because of how they got knocked out in the ALCS. Again, granted, it was the ALCS. It wasn't like they got knocked out in the wild card round, even though they got
Stop, Cashman. Stop, Cash.
They got close to it.
Stop.
Ultimately, they were terrible in the ALCS. But CC made a point, and he's right. And this is why when I look at the Yankees, I'm not as concerned as some people might be. DJ LeMahieu was jacked up. Josh Donaldson, who we anticipated was going to thrive in New York just because of his attitude. Like he's not going to be intimidated by this stage at all. He had a terrible offensive season. Joey Gallo, who was for some reason in the lineup consistently, he's now gone.
Yep.
Aaron Hicks is going to have, I hope, competition in left field, especially if they want to throw Stanton out in the outfield. And when you go look at the rotation, Garrett Cole's going to be Garrett Cole. With Sevy, when he's healthy, and I think he's going to be healthy. And again, this is part of what CC was talking about, like the health issues that permeated the Yankees' rotation, from Michael King getting hurt and Clay Holmes, even though they never said there was a real medical. There definitely was had to be something wrong after the season, or as the season progressed. You look at the additions to this team. It feels like if the Yankees are healthy, I don't really have a concern about them. I know there's still some upgrades that could be done, but the Yankees are. I'm not worried about the Yankees. I think last year everything that could have gone wrong was Murphy's Law. Kind of went wrong, especially for the guys he had question marks about.
But then one thing went as right as it's ever gone in the history of baseball.
True.
That was Aaron Judge hitting 62 home runs without steroids.
But let me ask you this: do you think that could have been a distraction? Because it was
for the rest of the team?
Yeah.
No.
Because it was all Judge all the time. And especially down the stretch. It was, when's he getting 62? When's he getting, or really 61? When's he getting 61? When's he getting 61? When's he getting 61? And then after that happened, you became, when's he getting 62? When's he getting 62? And I know they're professionals. I know that most of these guys are veteran. They've been around for, multiple, stints in Major League Baseball. It's not like they're all a bunch of 25-year-olds who, came up early and are just in awe of Aaron Judge. But don't you think there has to have been some piece of them that were just kind of watching, right? Just kind of watching.
Well,
also in awe, even though they're veterans, also in awe of what Aaron Judge was attempting to do.
I get what you're saying, but I would process it differently, especially the way baseball goes. I think, if anything, it alleviated some of the pressure on them. I really do. Think about this. You go to the ballpark, you can kind of just do your job in obscurity. Take your BP, take your fungos, get into the box 4 at-bats, and do your thing. All the pressure's on Judge. If anything, they had a chance to kind of hide. Now, listen, both teams are good.
Yes.
Which is right away fun out of the chute. But I look at the Yankees, and I'm going to hit you with a series of questions. Let me just rifle through these before you start refuting anything.
Would you like me to answer or respond or acknowledge or just listen?
What would you like to do?
I'll briefly respond.
Okay. Can Stanton play the outfield regularly?
Yes.
I disagree.
All right, we're gonna have a fun one here today. I can tell.
Can LeMahieu stay healthy?
Yes.
Possible.
Yeah.
Much more confident there. What's Hicks's role?
Platoon left fielder.
Okay. What's Donaldson's role?
Everyday third baseman, and I think he gets back to what we expected. Not even gets back to. Becomes what we expected last year.
Yeah, I'm bullish on his bounce back myself, but okay. Which kids emerge? It's a huge question. Which kids truly emerge for the Yankees?
Peraza, I think, wins the shortstop job.
I probably agree with that.
Out of camp.
Yep.
And Volpe is, at some point, call up. He makes the 40-man.
So he'll start in AAA.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
Can Carlos Rodon handle New York?
Yes.
We don't know yet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can he stay healthy?
I'm going to assume. I got to assume health.
Okay.
I got to assume health.
Okay.
So I'm going to say yes. But he's probably the only Yankee we've had on in the last year, right?
No. We had Voit on when he was back in the day. But yeah, we had him on.
So we had
signed.
Rodon on right after he signed.
Yep.
And I love his.
He was great.
I love his attitude. I love his mentality.
Mm-hmm.
So is he going to respond to New York? I think he's going to thrive here.
I think so too, but until we see it, it's a legitimate question, right?
Yes.
Who's the closer?
Clay Holmes.
Okay, probably, but I don't know for sure. Can Sevy stay healthy?
Yes.
Okay, yes, but we say
I'm
that-
making assumptions on health.
But that's the point. And then, not to mention the focus on whether or not Judge and or Cortez can remotely replicate their seasons from a year ago. Now, those are Yankee questions. Let me give you the Met ones. It's a much shorter list. Spoiler. You ready? The age of the top rotation. Is that an issue down the stretch?
Down the stretch?
Or this year?
At some point, yes, but I don't think it's going to be significant.
I tend to agree. Does Senga translate?
That's the hardest question for me.
That's a tough one. And anything else is a guess, but it's a good question. Mm-hmm. And what happens with the catching situation? We'll figure it out. Whatever, right?
At some point, Volpe comes up, right?
Alvarez.
Alvarez.
Yeah.
Francisco Alvarez comes up.
I'm done with my questions for the Mets. Now, again, the way I started the conversation, Yankees have more questions. I like their path more. Like, listen, can we nitpick? But not really. You go around the diamond. Alonso, given. McNeil, given. Lindor, given. Escobar's fine. Mm-hmm. Outfield, given.
Yeah.
Buck Showalter, given.
Yeah.
Closer, given.
And even Marte, who hopefully he's healthy. Even if he's not healthy, you throw McNeil in the outfield and you have Guillermo still around. So there's solutions for the questions that the Mets have. Whereas with the Yankees,
and there's also fewer questions.
It's only health with the Yankees, and
that's a huge thing.
It is, but I just have to assume health.
Let me ask you this, T. What derailed the Yankees season last year?
I think honestly it was health.
Exactly.
It was health.
So when you say it's only health, how do you minimize that? It's what sabotaged the Yankee season.
Because I have to assume that whatever went wrong with DJ LeMahieu's toe, with Giancarlo Stanton's calf, with whatever happened with Clay Holmes, because it was not just he sucked all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. It couldn't have been that, right? Michael King with his injury, like all of that stuff. I mean, it felt so random, but it was all at the same time. Like they're rocketing towards 118 wins.
That was never the team that they were.
At least according to Dove.
That was never the team that they were.
I know, but it felt like
that start was not who they were.
True, but it felt like they could sustain it, and then injury happened, and another injury, and they were subtle, and they felt insignificant and not related. But when you compounded them all together, it made for an inept. What month was that? They won 12 or whatever. It's like
July,
12 games,
August?
July or something like that. It
was right after the
games.
All-Star game when Stanton didn't play. They played the Astros. They didn't play well. Yeah, so
and they went on this. They went on this slide. That should have been the foreshadow what was going to happen if they couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah,
and then ultimately when they got in the postseason, especially against the Astros, it was ineptitude.
877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Our frowns. Our frowns. No, you don't frown at Town Fair. You smile. Our friends at Town Fair remind you that you always get the best service there. Boy, did I butcher that, Rita. I just gave you the condensed version. They give you the best service. From Connecticut to Maine, nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. I'm so jacked up to finally talk about something other than Aaron Rodgers. And we'll get to Rodgers a little later. But listen, we get it. I mean, there's a conversation that is timely. There's a conversation that has a shelf life. Mm-hmm. And we'll do a little Rodgers later. There's something I want to ask Tiki, but to shove it down your throat out of the chute just didn't seem like the way to go today. We're talking baseball. And my contention is this. And I just ran through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 questions for the Yankees. And, yeah, I'm sure if I nitpick, I can come up with a few more for the Mets. But I only have 3 or 4 that are really staring me in the face. The Yankees questions seem a lot more real and a lot more able, quite frankly, to derail what they're trying to pursue. Whereas with the Mets, I think the derailment comes, if it comes, in the face of the adversity with the competition. I mean, the NL is absolutely stacked. Yeah, the Yanks can make a move. Yeah, the Mets can make a move. Right now, I think the Yankees have some questions. I really do. 877-337-6666. All right, Teague, you ready for some baseball calls?
I am.
I think this is the official start of the baseball season here on Tiki and Tierney. Let's go.
Well, the games start today, right? The first games are this afternoon.
Yeah, the Mets have a sim, which they're going to stream, and then the Yanks and the Mets both play tomorrow.
The Rangers,
I think
Royals,
the Mets play split squad tomorrow, I think.
Rangers, Royals at 3:05 today. And
is DeGrom pitching?
No, he's not. Mariners and Padres. But
Mariners
obviously,
good.
There's a big slate tomorrow, but they start today.
All right, let's do it. Let's get to you. Let's go to Philip first up, Jamaica, Queens. What's up, Phil?
Hello, thank you for taking my call. And
Okay.
I just want to say, Tiki Barbara,
What's up?
I'm a Jets fan, but I watched the Giant game just to see you.
I appreciate
do
that.
everything with class.
Thank you, man. I appreciate
So
that.
now that Tiki's no longer on the Giants, do you still watch the Giants?
I still watch the Giants.
Okay, so
but I
you
watch
didn't
Jets.
just watch the Giants because of Tiki.
I got him
then.
watching the Giants. That's all. I made a convert.
Did you watch the Giants before Tiki was on the Giants?
Okay, I watched the Giants before.
There we go. He's just trying to brown those, get some extra airtime out of you, Bomber.
Just give me some credit. That's all I wanted.
That's right.
What's
you
up,
deserve
Philip?
the credit. What up, Phil?
I want to talk about the Mets.
Go ahead.
I'm a big Mets fan, and it drove me crazy. They had first place, until the last month of the season where the Braves took them over, the series. Do you think the Mets did enough moves, like with Hershiser, the Japanese pitcher, to finally overtake the Braves? And I know there's the Phillies who made it to the World Series. So do you think the Mets did enough to take the division, or do you think they still have work to do?
I think that the Mets, I think you said Hershiser, but I think did you say Hershiser?
Yeah, but I think you mean
I think
Scherzer.
you said- yeah, Scherzer.
I
Yeah,
meant
I got you,
Verlander.
Phil.
Yeah.
I think where the Mets and the Yankees, I'm going to incorporate the Yankees here, big picture, but more specific for your Mets query. I think both teams did enough to have a legitimate ability to say we're in it to win it. I think both teams will have to make a fairly big move during the season to win the World Series. That's my honest opinion.
And for the Mets, it's still exactly what you said last year. Big bat, someone to change the tenor of the game with a swing type of situation. For the Yankees,
Well, let me clarify that. When I say in addition, that could also be one of the kids. So if Alvarez becomes that kid, or Volpe becomes that kid, or Peraza, or Beatty. So one of the kids or a midseason move is listen, the Yankees are not better than the Astros. They're just like Casper can tell us whatever he wants on the score in Chicago. They waxed us. They kicked the crap out. We hit 160 against them. We're lucky we beat the Guardians, all right? And by the way, it's not just the Astros. Like the Seattle Mariners are really good.
Yeah.
Seattle's coming. The Guardians barely lost to the Yankees. Toronto's going to be a handful. I never sleep on Tampa. And then you look at the National League, and obviously the Mets. I think the Mets are going to win mid-90s-ish. Same with the Yankees-ish. But the Braves, the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Padres, the Brewers, the Cardinals. A lot of good teams. There's a lot of bad teams, but there's a lot of good teams. Rick's down in Tampa on the free Odyssey app. What up, Rick?
what's happening, Rick?
What's up, guys? Happy Friday. The hub of the Yankees down here, BT.
That's right.
Hey, you know what? From my guy, check this out. From the guys on the Yankees who I've talked to so far, the team that they have concern for in their division is Tampa. They're telling me, and I don't listen to anything about Tampa down here, but they're saying that the improvements that they made are going to be a tough team to play this year. So that's kind of interesting.
They're always tough. They're always tough. They catch the baseball.
Yeah,
it's a good organization.
Yeah.
Good team.
They're
And-
annoyingly
and-
tough because there's no superstar. They're just annoyingly good.
No, but so we're going to see how that happens. The one thing about, it's spring training, can our young guys just thrive, and we can go into the season with the young talent coming up with Volpe, with even I'll even go with the Martian in center field. We'll see what he does. I don't want to hear though, BT.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear how great Higgy is batting in preseason.
Oh, I hear
in the
ya.
spring training.
I hear
that.
ya.
I don't want to hear how great Higgs is tearing the ball up. I want to see it when it comes time to play the games because we know we've seen that story before, right?
Well, and not just with the Yankees. I remember years ago, what was it? Was it Butch Husky who had like 11 home runs one spring? Listen, the thing about spring training, and thanks for the call there, Rick. And most of you know this, but at this point, the pitchers are miles ahead of the hitters.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the games hit, they really don't. They don't want to exert too much torque early on their arms, so they throw a lot of fastballs.
Yeah.
And if you're a hitter and you know a heater's coming, you're going to crank it. Then you get these windy, blustery days out in Florida. Balls sail over the fences. You get into the bullpens of guys who aren't going to be on the team. The numbers are distorted.
Yeah,
offensively.
you get a false sense of someone's ready to explode,
100%,
or have a breakout season, and that was it. That was Higashioka last year.
Oh yeah.
I
think he hit 8. Did he hit 8 home runs last year?
I think it was. And it wasn't that many at bats either.
Higashioka, the home run smoker. I can't wait for baseball, Teak.
He got all his.
I'm pumped.
He got all his Higgy stuff out in the preseason.
He did.
In spring training.
Yeah, he did. Mr. Hoffman, who was back from a 3-day hiatus, a little vacation with the wife, we missed him. Are you? When I say that the questions for the Yankees, keep it tight here. We got to get a break. When I say the questions for the Yankees significantly outweigh on paper the questions for your Mets. You're objective. You agree with that?
I do. I think the Mets have basically everything intact besides maybe down and rough. That's about it. Everything else is pretty much locked and loaded.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, you didn't have to be that quick. I mean, you can span 15, 20 seconds here, dude. This guy's always at one end of the spectrum.
Easing myself back in.
He's either babbling on for 5 minutes or he says 2 words.
Way to be coached well. Good job, Hoff.
Yeah, well, he's been with his wife for 3 days. She's probably been talking his ear off. He hasn't said a word. How was the birthday celebration for Nick? Good?
It was good. It was good times.
You guys have a good time?
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
I told you, see, I'm mad at you. I'm actually annoyed. I wanted to do something for him before he left, okay? I said, and he told me like the day before and I forgot. That's like when my wife's telling me I don't listen to certain things. Like, we have to be here. I listen to what I have to know. Like, when do I have to work? What time's practice? Are we going to church? What do I have to do something? Then I listen. So he told me and I didn't listen. And I wanted to send him and his wife a bottle of champagne or a bottle of wine to the room so they could, celebrate, And 3 kids, a lot of moving parts. And when he was leaving the day before he went away, I said, text me the name of your place. Never does it. I text him during the break, during the vacation. Doesn't get back to me. Text him yesterday.
He was busy.
He's like, I'm home.
He was busy.
You're an idiot. You're home.
I think you used a different word. I don't think you called me an idiot. I think you said something else.
I did. It begins with a D and it ends with a K. Yes. That's exactly what I called you. 877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan. All right, Yankee fans. Multitude of issues, certainly plenty of strengths as well, but a lot of things that worry me. Met fans, I think a more complicated route to get to where you want to get, but fewer questions. So which path is more desirable? Tiki and Tierney on the Fan.